Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I do happen to have a yoga mat. However, if you are without one, simply use an area in your house that's carpeted, or maybe you've got a rug that you can use, not one that's going to slide across the floor, but one that can support you and be snug against the floor. I have a folded blanket, which is honestly the throw blanket from my couch. You could use that, or a beach towel. 2 yoga blocks. A great substitute is 2 thick books. We'll get started standing with our feet hip distance apart, a little bit of a bend in our knees, feet are parallel, and then let's experiment with this. So a lot of times we spend our days this way a little bit. I'm exaggerating maybe a bit. Our technology has us doing that. Time has us doing a bit of this. Let's turn our palms away from each other and let that originate at our shoulder joint. Now notice I'm not doing that throwing my chin to the sky. It's more refined. So our inner upper arms turn away from each other, and as a result our palms face out. And we can feel our feet on the ground, our heart uplifted, the crown of our head extending to the sky, and our chin floating parallel to the ground. We feel that we've got some slightly effortless good posture going on. A great discovery. Let's breathe into this great discovery and really become aware of our inhales and be fully present as well to our exhales. Can we try that? Just paying attention to our breathing. To make that even clearer, let's take an inhale through our nose and exhale it out our mouth. One more time. Inhale. Exhale it out our mouth. Now if you can, let's try to inhale through our nose and exhale through our nose. If you need to exhale through your mouth or breathe any other way, it's fine. But 30 seconds just to be aware of our breath. Let's allow this breath to guide our movement, facing the short edge of our mat with our hip distance stance. Inhale, arms reach out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Start with your hands on your thighs and a bend to your knees. Traction your hands on your thighs and use that leverage as a way to find a really, truly long spine with a hip hinge. Keep this long spine. Keep hinging, slide your hands down. They don't have to go far. They may go to your shins, they may go to your ankles, but we're not collapsed and rounding there. Then slide your hands back up, inhale. Let's find those hands on our thighs and the uplift of our heart, and then make our way back up to standing, a V shape with our thumbs to the sky and our arms along our sides. We'll use that wisdom as we flow a little bit now. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs or shins or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. You might take your hands to your thighs to assist that. This time, exhale, hinge at your hips, slide back in, but keep the length. And then inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V. Pause with your palms facing out in your mountain pose. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, slide back in as you hinge, and then inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, a V. We stand with our palms facing out. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Inhale, lift your heart, reach your arms up a little bit, and then bend your knees deeply so your palms can get flat on your mat. With your palms flat, we're stepping to our first down dog. Now push the ground away right out of the gate. Step your feet as wide as your mat and bend your knees. You're on the balls of your feet. I want us to avoid bending our elbows and crumbling into our shoulders. So push the ground away actively. Find a hook in your tailbone. Let that lift your hips up and back. I find a delicious stretch in my back body, side body, front body. I hope you do too. Let's walk forward, feet to our hands, hip distance. Slide your hands up your thighs, shins or ankles. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, and then we stand with our palms facing out. Adding on. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs, shins or ankles. Slide your hands up, lift your heart, bend your knees, palms go flat. Down dog is what we step into. Our hips are high, we push the ground away. Shift to plank, shoulders over wrists, and now hips lift us up and back down. Dog again, feel free to bend your knees. Shift, shoulders over wrists, and a pause, and then find the hook in your tailbone. Let that take you up and back to down dog. One more time, we shift our shoulders over our wrists, and now we lower our knees down. Our knees are a little further back in space than if we were on hands and knees, and here's a very important part of this. For a moment, collapse with me. That's not what we want. Push the ground away. You can feel that there's a canyon in between your shoulders that we don't want. Push the ground away. Now it's flat land where the shoulder blades connect to your spine. Let your low belly lift. Shift a little bit forward in one piece with our toes curled under. Let's go all the way onto our belly with our elbows brushing our ribs as we go. Uncurl your toes and bring your forearms parallel to the long edges of your mat for a Sphinx pose. Start by pressing the tops of your feet into your mat. Imagine that you're almost tucking your tailbone, and then traction your elbows towards you and let your heart move through the gateway of your arms. We're not doing anything with our chin. That floats parallel to the ground. We'll lower down and see if we can find that same back bend recipe with our hands next to our ribs. So come back up into that traction. It might be a little harder to find. If it's too hard, then stay with Sphinx. I love Sphinx as part of our Sun Salutation A. Now, we're still not using our chin. I find that more tempting to do with this, what's called Cobra position. Lower down, bring your hands next to your ribs if they're not. Curl your toes under on all fours and in one chunk. And then our hips lift us up and back to down dog, so push the ground away really strong. And we walk forward, feet to our hands. Our feet are hip distance. Slide your hands up, lift your heart, inhale. Hinge at your hips, and we fold in, exhale. Then rise, reach, inhale, thumbs to the sky, a V. We pause with our palms facing out. Let's flow. Inhale, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs, shins, or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, bend your knees, palms flat, step back, down dog, a hook in our tailbone. Now inhale to plank, shoulders over wrists, knees down carefully. Remember, we're not collapsed, we're pushing the ground away. And we shift a little forward, our bellies come all the way down slowly, elbows brushing our ribs. Uncurl your toes. It's a Sphinx pose or a Cobra. Lower down, curl your toes under in one chunk, all fours. And from all fours, our hips lift us up and back into our down dog. You can have that wide stance, definitely a bend in your knees. Let's luxuriate for a moment, push the ground away. Discover some space somewhere that you hadn't discovered it before. We take our right leg back behind us, and then we step that right foot forward, and most of us are going to need to help it along. Find your two books or blocks. Frame your right foot with your books or your blocks. Inch that right foot over to the right. We'll take the time to refine at this moment. So we've got a bend in our right knee. We're on the ball of our left foot, our back foot. Now let's add bend to our back knee so that we can come upright, V-shaping our arms to the sky. And it feels like there's some freedom there. If you want to, you can straighten your back leg, but if it's pitching you forward or dumping you into your low back, that little bend is a great friend. Hands to your blocks, move them off to the side, and make your way to down dog. From down dog, we lift our left leg back behind us, and we use that velocity to step forward, but we may need to help our left leg forward. We trot our two blocks to frame our left leg, and we inch our left foot a little to the left so that we've got some space to play with. A little bend in our back knee can be helpful. We come upright into our crescent pose, thumbs to the sky, and pause here, a V shape. Then hands to your blocks. Move those aside, step to your down dog, palms flat. Find that spaciousness, why not, while we're here, our hips lift up and back. And then we'll shift shoulders over wrists in our plank. Remember, we're pushing the ground away the whole time as we lower our knees, keep pushing the ground away, bend your elbows, lower onto your belly. Once you're on your belly, uncurl your toes for either Sphinx pose or Cobra pose. Lower down, curl your toes under in one piece onto all fours, and then our hips lift us up and back into our downward facing dog. Lift your right leg back behind you, step it forward and help it along. Come up into crescent pose. You can use your blocks on the way up. And then let your left heel, back heel, drop flat. Inch your right foot over to the left. Take a look and make sure that there's a vertical line from your right knee to your right ankle. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Left heel slides at a 45-degree angle further back towards the back edge of your mat than your toes are. Our thumbs are to the sky in our warrior two. And we're making sure that we're not swinging our hips out back behind us. They're hugging underneath us. Very careful on our dismount if you don't mind. We'll spin on our back toes and find our crescent pose we came from. Take our hands to our blocks and then to our mat. We step to downward facing dog, push the ground away the whole time. There's a hook in our tailbone, giving us space. Left leg lifts behind us. We step our left foot forward and help it along in any way we need to, and up we head into our crescent lunge. Then our back heel, right heel drops back. We step our left foot over to the right and open our bodies out to the right side in our warrior two stance. Our thumbs are to the sky. We're careful not to swing that left hip out on this side. And then the vertical line from our left knee to our left ankle is something we want to check on. Let's pause a little moment or two. Warrior two, side two. Then to come out, we spin on our back toes and come back into our crescent pose. Hands to our blocks. Once we know where we are, palms flat, we step to downward facing dog. Pushing the ground away, then we keep pushing the ground away. Into plank position we go, and knees come down. Keep pushing the ground away, onto our bellies we go, and then to Cobra or Sphinx pose. Lower down, toes curl under in one piece. We come to all fours. The hook in our tailbone takes us up and back into our down dog, and this time walk forward, feet to your hands and hip distance. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. Slide your hands down, exhale, hinge at your hips. Glide, reach, inhale, arms to the sky, V shape, and then we pause with our palms facing out. Let's flow. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale. Palms go flat, we step to downward facing dog. Once we're in down dog, right leg reaches back behind us and we step up into our crescent lunge. Maybe we help our leg along, use our blocks along the way. Once we're upright, left heel flat, right foot inches to the left, warrior two. This time in our warrior two, right forearm across our thigh, maybe right hand on our block outside our right foot. Check while you're down here, vertical line, right knee, right ankle. Slide your left heel back, 45-degree angle. We want to feel left thumb to the sky and inner upper arms running away from each other, not crowding in on each other. 3 moments where we are. We'll spin on our back toes, take both hands on our blocks, move the blocks down dog. Left leg lifts behind us. We step that left foot forward and help it along. Use our blocks maybe to come up into our crescent lunge. Back heel down, inch your left foot over to the right. We Land our warrior two, check on the 45-degree angle in our back foot, left forearm across our thigh, maybe left hand on our block, right arm up to the sky, thumb to the sky. We're not swinging our left hip out on this side. We feel that hugging underneath us. Instead of crowding our shoulders forward, we spin inner upper arms away from each other, and now we soak here for a few moments. To release, spin on your right toes, take both hands onto your blocks, move those blocks off the side of your mat, palms flat, down dog. Option to stay here or shift shoulders over wrists. Bring your knees to your mat. Slowly lower, pushing the ground away onto your belly. Uncurl your toes and make it a cobra or sphinx pose. Lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours. Find the hook in your tailbone, push the ground away, right away. From our down dog, we lift our right leg behind us. Then we step right foot forward. We use the props, the assists that are helpful, and we bring ourselves up into our crescent lunge once more. Back heel down, open out, warrior two. Right hand on your block or right forearm across your thigh. We check to make sure right ankle, right knee. And then we come upright into warrior two and we straighten our right leg. This is not a side bend. This is a hip hinge. So we slide that left heel back at 45 degrees and we feel a hinge at our right hip. Our left hip is lifting up. We reach way out with that right hand. Right hand on your block, left arm up to the sky. Again, not a crumble and crowding, an inner upper arms spinning away from each other moment. We straighten our front leg by pressing our right big toe mound into our mat and hugging our right hip underneath us. 2 moments together here. Left hand down, bend your right knee, spin on your left toes, step it to down dog. Blocks go off to the side. Left leg lifts behind us. We step that left foot forward, help it along, maybe. Use our blocks to help things along, crescent pose. And then back heel down, opening out. Warrior two. Our side angle could be left forearm, karate chopping our thigh, or left hand on our block. Right arm, thumb to the sky. Then we come upright into warrior two once again and straighten our left leg. Let's check. Right heel, 45-degree angle back behind us. Instead of a side bend, our right hip lifts up. There's a hinge at our left hip. We reach way out with our left hand and find our block with our left hand. Spin those inner upper arms away from each other. Breathe into this spaciousness. A few moments of silence to enjoy. To come out of it, simultaneously bend your front knee and spin on your back toes. Take your blocks off the side of your mat, palms flat. Option to stay here or shoulders over wrists, plank position, but our knees come down. We're pushing the ground away as we carefully lower to our belly. Uncurl your toes, sphinx or cobra pose. Lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours and into downward facing dog. Let's flow all that together. Right leg lift, step it through, help it along, help yourself with blocks. Crescent pose is our destination. Back heel down, walk your right foot over to the left, warrior two. Either karate chop your right thigh or right hand on your block, left arm up to the sky. Come upright, warrior two. Straighten that front leg, not a side bend, a hip hinge for triangle. Right hand on your block. If you're using a shin, you're not slamming that right leg straight. Then we dismount. Bend your right knee, spin on your back toes, use your blocks to help. Then palms flat, blocks off to the side, down dog. Left leg lifts. Step it into your crescent, help it along, help yourself with blocks. Up we go. Back heel down, inch left foot over to the right. Warrior two. Side angle can be left forearm across your thigh or left hand on your block, right arm up to the sky. We come upright into warrior two and straighten our front leg. Then we hinge at that left hip, reaching way out. Left hand down, right arm up to the sky in our triangle pose. To come out of it, we bend our right knee, take the spin on our back toes and our blocks in our hands. Move those blocks off to the side, palms flat, down dog. One last little what's called vinyasa or sun salutation, totally optional. Shoulders over wrists, knees down, lower onto your belly. Take your time, uncurl your toes, cobra pose. And then lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours, and then lift your hips up and back. Down dog for a little moment here before we leave it for the day. Push the ground away. Exaggerate the lift of your hips. Feel free to keep even more bend in your knees. Let it speak to you in between the vertebra of your spine for a second as some space and inspiration. And then we come onto all fours. Once we are on all fours, I'm going to suggest that you have a block as a prop for us to sit on. We're designing a single pigeon, so we'll start on our right side, block underneath your right sit bone. I like to come into it slowly and carefully because it's a pose that maybe doesn't work for all of us, but I believe if you use this prop, you can probably find something for you. It can even be that both legs stay bent, something that looks a little bit more like what's called a 90-90. This is great, and you'll just see if you can start to sit and feel things open up a little bit. You might be able to swing your left leg back a little bit. You can bend your right knee as deeply as you'd like to, and think of spinning your back thigh to face the ground. So what I do is I curl my left toes under, pick that knee up off of my mat, and then turn it, and I find a place where I get a stretch right here on the outside of my right hip, on the front of my left hip, and I'm not feeling pain in my right knee. And then we take a few moments to enjoy our single pigeon stretch. I'm going to take another 45 seconds. I know it's kind of a long hold in this. Back it off when you need to, but if it's just that you're starting to get a little bit fidgety, how interesting, right? Recommit. Recommit and let the sensations of this posture keep us where we mean to be a little bit longer. And then maybe we can do that, you know, on the tennis court or in a conversation that matters. A few more moments here. To come out of this, lean over to your right so you can free yourself with some space. And then you'll come off your perch so that we can then create your perch on your second side. So your left sit bone is sitting on something that can be quite elevated. I'm using a block that's pretty high up. And then remember, it could be even just like a 90-90, right? That sometimes is a little more difficult to navigate. You can bend that left knee as deeply as you want to. You might follow suit as I take my right leg back behind me. I'm scooching it back as if it were the back leg in that crescent lunge that we did. If I curl my back toes under, that helps me to spin that back thigh to face down. There's a sweet spot for all of us. You are the expert in finding that in your body. A stretch in your left hip, a stretch in the front of your right hip, and then we take some time here where you will likely be tempted to fidget, to drift off in some sort of storyline. And then our work here on our mat is to bring ourselves back without judgment. Just come on, hey, now, don't go down that story lane again. Come back to where we really are and fully inhabit this moment. Okay, let's all do that together for a full minute here. Now, remember that we do this slowly and mindfully. You may recall, we lean to our left, and then we'll just encourage that right leg forward, come off of our perch. Place our blocks off to the side, out of our way, so we can lie down and first take a supine twist. So lying down, we'll scoot our hips right, let our knees spill to the left. If you want, you can cross your right knee over your left knee. We come down the middle, and now hips left, knees right. Maybe you enjoy left knee crossed over right knee. And then we'll make our way down the middle and set ourselves up for Shavasana final meditation. And let's truly set it up. So snuggle your shoulder blades underneath you so they're moving towards one another, not winging away. Place your feet on the ground and lift your hips just an inch. And then when you lower your hips, feel like you discovered a little bit of space. And you could stay like this, or extend one leg and then the other, straight out in front of you. Your feet will flop open. You can close, even cover your eyes. If closing your eyes is uncomfortable, just soften your gaze and let's rest and digest together. You're welcome to, in fact, encouraged to stay here in your Shavasana final meditation for as long as you'd like. If it's time, give yourself a gentle stretch, bring your knees into your chest, roll to your side. Help yourself up to any kind of comfortable seat. Could be cross-legged, it might be seated on your heels, and then with our palms up or down, we just take a pause, a thoughtful, thankful pause. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing this again together soon.